Hi there, my name is Juji. Welcome to my channel. I'm excited for you to be here. This is a space for anyone and everyone who's interested in exploring self-development and relationships through the human design system. Well, guys, I'm really excited because I had a very interesting request the other day. And this is a story that I actually touched upon when I started to do these videos and talked about Charles, Diana, and Camilla. So this is going to be kind of a history lesson. The couple that was requested was King Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson. So if you don't know, Queen Elizabeth, the monarch who just died, was actually not meant to be queen at all. Her father was made king when King Edward abdicated the throne because he was not allowed to marry his love, Wallis Simpson, because she was a divorcee. I mean, not only was she divorced, but she was also an American. So that was completely unheard of at the time. And forfeiting the throne was a huge, huge deal. The monarchy had never seen anything like this before. And so, of course, I began to wonder what it was between these two. I mean, was it a million electromagnetic connections? And what was it that was so irresistible about this woman? She wasn't particularly beautiful. She wasn't even particularly elegant. And if this is a story that interests you, there's a couple of movies about it that are very interesting. One was directed by Madonna, of all people, called W.E., and it really gives you this inside look at what went down between these two people. So what I found in the charts was actually fascinating because it always is. So let's get started. So this is Wallis Simpson. She's a manifesting generator. She's single definition, sacral authority, 2-4 profile on the right angle cross of the vessel of love. Now, I was talking once to somebody on the right angle cross of the vessel of love, and he expressed to me that a lot of the time people misunderstand when they are in the presence of somebody who has this cross because they embody love in a way. They are love. They aren't here to necessarily give love. They're not a bottomless vessel of love, but they feel like love to so many people. So that's just something interesting that I wanted to throw in there. But other than that, there's nothing that I would really look at on this chart and go, ooh, that's juicy, or that's really important, or whatever. So let's keep going and look at King Edward. All right, so this is where it gets interesting. King Edward was a manifester. He was also single definition. He's splenic authority. He's a 5-1 profile, and he's on the left angle cross of prevention. This person's chart is all about leadership and rulership. This is the chart of a king. This is the chart of a monarch. And the thing is that most of the time people like this have to fight to rule, but he didn't have to. He was born into rulership. So you have to wonder, what was it about Wallis Simpson? What would compel somebody who was literally born to rule to abdicate their throne? Let's take a look. So this is King Edward and Wallis Simpson together. They are 6 and 3, better to be free. They are single definition together, and they only have one electromagnetic connection, which is the 2343. This abdication was not about love. This abdication basically had nothing to do with this woman. And that's really hard to sort of wrap our minds around because it's been so romanticized throughout history. It was so shocking to people that King Edward would relinquish his power for this woman that he cared for so deeply. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that they didn't care for one another. I'm not saying that they didn't enjoy each other's company. They did get married and live out the rest of their lives in exile in France. But this was not a Helen of Troy, Romeo and Juliet, star-crossed lovers type of a relationship. So you might be wondering then, okay, what was it about? Because if this isn't a love story and this channel is mostly about relationships, then what is this about? Well, in the same way that relationships are not personal, abdicating the throne was also not personal. I want to put this into context because these people were born before 1900. And that means that they are pretty attached still to the seven-centered hierarchical way of life. What could be more hierarchical than the actual monarchy? What could be more of the past of the seven-centered way than the royal family? So then in comes this manifester. And now remember, manifestors have closed and repelling auras, and they are here to do what they want, when they want, and nobody is here to tell them what to do. But that's actually exactly what the monarchy does. That's exactly what being king actually means, is that people are telling you every single day of your life what it is that you're supposed to do. Kings are not free. They are not available to do whatever the F they want when they want it. They're super scheduled. They have obligations and they have all of this responsibility, but none of the actual reward or their impact. Manifestors are here to have impact. Their impact isn't really felt. They don't know how they're impacting the world. They just know that they have to get up at a certain time. They have to do all of these certain things, and then they have to go to bed at a certain time. That's it. And I don't know if a manifestor could do that, honestly, especially a manifestor with the 2145 ego definition. I have this channel, and it is very difficult to have people lording over you and scheduling you and telling you what to do, especially when your heart's not in it. The ego is associated with the heart. If your heart isn't into something, you will abdicate no matter what anybody thinks. So again, I don't think that this was about Wallis Simpson at all. It could have been the straw that broke the camel's back in a sense, meaning that when they said, no, you can't marry the person that you want, that might have been the final straw for him. You can't tell me what to do. I'm a manifester. I am a 2145. If my heart desires this woman, then that's who I will have. It could have been anyone. It could have been somebody more attractive. It could have been somebody with more electromagnetic connections, but that wasn't the point. The point was he wasn't going to be a part of keeping himself trapped in the palace, keeping himself trapped in that job. He didn't care what it meant for him to walk away from the throne. He didn't care who it hurt or what it meant for their country. I mean, his brother was completely ill prepared to rule. It hadn't been part of the plan. And he just didn't have it in him to be able to live by the standards that were set forth for him. He was also a 5-1 profile, and we've talked about this before. The 5-1 gets projected on as the hero and the savior, but they can also be projected on in other ways. And I'm sure that he felt that projection field and didn't care for it. You know, people see their king a certain way, and he didn't want to play that role. He didn't want to live in this consistent projection where potentially he was feeling like he was constantly letting people down. That's a very difficult place to be, especially for somebody who is meant to be so independent. And speaking of independent, he's a single definition, just like Wallis Simpson. Single definition people aren't looking to connect in the same way that split definition people are constantly trying to do. So again, this is not about, oh my God, I would die for my love. I will fall on my sword. This woman is the woman. She represented what was just out of reach for him. And that is why at the end of the day, we're here to see it's not just about electromagnetics and chemistry. It's looking at the entire picture, and it's looking at the individual, because we are all here to be individuals. That's what the future is all about. We are all here to make sure that we are taken care of, and then we can be better partners to those that we care about. So in a way, King Edward was a trailblazer. And because of what he did, Charles is now able to assume the throne married to a divorced woman. That may not have been possible if he hadn't set the precedent for this is silly. We're the monarchy. We can change the rules whenever we feel like it. We saw what happened when we didn't change the rules for King Edward. So let's rethink that and step into a new modern era in which divorce doesn't have to be a deal breaker or a game changer. And I feel like that kind of represents everything about the future that we're moving into. We can bond with people and let them go and not make it mean that somehow we are morally bankrupt or whatever it was that made it impossible for King Edward to assume the throne and be married to somebody who had gotten a divorce. All right, guys, I feel like that was kind of a long-winded spiel, but I really wanted to be able to express how surprised I was and then what I saw that was unexpected about the situation. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to be notified every time I drop a new video. Please comment below if you have any questions or if you want to nominate another famous couple for me to do an analysis for. You can also find me on Instagram at HDbyZ and my website, which will be in the show notes. There you'll see I offer individual human design readings, a relationship mentorship program, and a community for conscious women practicing strategy and authority called the Beehive. Until next time, ciao for now.